First of all, I'd like to sincerely apologize for how I'm about to start this video. He did the mash. He did the monster mash. He ate some rats. He ate a couple of rats. He ate more rats. He ate a fuck ton of rats. Even more rats. Seriously, why is he eating all these rats? Why does he have to do this? What the fuck is wrong with him? And secondly, today we're looking at Vampyr, or Vampyr if you prefer. Now generally vampire games have always been kind of up and down in my opinion. I mean, there are some good ones like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but there's also stuff like Dark, an absolute disease of a game that definitely would have been the worst of its year if it wasn't for— Oh god, no! No! Hide the children! So I wasn't really sure if Vampyr would end up on the good side or the bad side, but realistically I'd say it probably falls somewhere in the middle with maybe just enough good ideas to scooch it onto the good side. But only if it behaves. The game itself is a third-person action RPG that takes place in World War I London, and just a quick side note, why does every game that takes place in England have to be in London? Like, I know it's the most iconic city and everything, but still, just once I'd like to see a game take place in Brighton, or Manchester, or hey, if you really want to make it scary, set it in Blackpool. Ha! But anyway, you play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, famous surgeon sporting a stylish grey coat, a tasteful trimmed beard, and some beautiful demon eyes of death. Very nice. The game starts with Jonathan having just been turned into a vampire and in desperate need of blood, so he snacks on the first person he finds, but whoops, you didn't realize it was your sister the whole time, Johnny boy, you fucking doink. So Jonathan needs to figure out what happened, who turned him into a vampire, and hopefully use some of that fancy medical knowledge of his to stop the vampire virus. Overall, I'd say the story is pretty generic, but not bad. Like, it covers all the standard vampire story themes: desire, humanity versus the inner beast, and eating rats, that's a big one. And whilst there's not much that stands out about it, there was nothing I found to be particularly offensive either. Oh, except for the relationship between Jonathan and the potential love interest, Lady Ashbury. Like, they have no chemistry together, and whenever they talk to each other, they sound like they both know they're gonna stab each other in the back first chance they get. But apart from that, the story was okay, although I should mention that I mostly enjoyed it because of the interesting NPCs and the fact that you can just go right ahead and murder them. You see, Vampyr's most interesting mechanic is the citizen system, where there are tons of different NPCs, all with different personalities and XP levels, and these represent how much XP you'll get if you give them a little smooch, you know what I'm saying, I'm talking about murder. And you can change these XP levels by talking to them, doing quests for them, or giving them medicine if they're sick. This is probably my favorite thing about Vampyr. It does a good job of mimicking the temptation to feed that an actual vampire would have, especially when you've just done a quest for one of your favorite guys and you don't want to kill him, but you need those sweet, sweet points. I need the point! However, I heard before I played the game that this whole system is kind of unnecessary because the game never gets so hard that you need to get the XP. And I thought I would put this theory to the test and see how far I could get before I needed to feed, and I gotta say, as much as I would like to pretend I'm an epic skilled gamer like all the cool kids, I actually got to a point where I had to do it. I mean, to be fair, I only had to kill a few people, like this woman who called me lazy because I don't like people who insult me with things that are true, but when I didn't kill at all, I usually found myself to be pretty underleveled, and the killing really helped. I mean, to be honest, I didn't do too many of the side quests, which probably factored into it a bit. Don't tell the comment section though, because they might get angry. But overall, I think the citizen system is really cool, which is good because in my opinion, nearly everything else about the game is just okay. For example, the combat. It's your standard hacky, slashy, dodgy, your average reviewer would probably compare it to Dark Souls thing, and it's alright. It's pretty basic and not all that satisfying, but it's perfectly functional, and the special abilities and powers were actually pretty awesome. But it still got kind of stale after a while, but there were quite a lot of good boss fights pretty frequently, but it's okay. You know, I'll give it the participation award, you know, it's good enough. And just like the story and the gameplay, the presentation is just okay as well. Like, the environments are nice and I like the game's version of London, but the animation isn't that good, and half the character models look like they're dead, and not just the actual dead ones either. Plus, the game has a few technical problems too. For example, you may have noticed my footage can sometimes be quite laggy and jumpy. That's not me, that's just how the game runs on the PS4. Also, Also, this game's loading screens are long and frequent, and I especially love how they give you an extra big one after you die every single time. Love that! But on the whole, I think Vampyr is a game of highs and lows. The citizen system, that's a high, the frame rate, that's a low, the many branching paths in dialogue, that's a high, the loading times, that's a... Yeah, you get it. And overall, these highs and lows even out to an okay game, but still with more good stuff than bad stuff. But hey, you may be thinking, Jum Jum, I've heard enough about your stupid opinion, you dense bitch. Now I just want to know if this game is worth my hard-earned shekels. Well, that really depends. If the problems I've mentioned seem like the kind of things you can forgive, then yeah, I'd say it's worth a look. But if you're more of a high-class consumer, or you lost most of your money to a gypsy curse like I did, I'd suggest waiting a bit and picking it up when the price drops. Unless you just can't wait to eat all those scrumptious little rats for yourself.
Tasty, juicy, disgusting rats. I can't stop eating them.
Yeah, see, she gets it.